My name is Dennis, but for the last 12 years, my enemies have called me Shareholder 773. I'm 82 years old, and on what should have been the proudest day of my life, the 50th anniversary of the company I built from nothing, everything finally came full circle. For half a century, I watched from the shadows as the three men who stole my legacy ran my company into the ground. They thought I was finished, broken, forgotten. What they never knew is that for 12 long years, I've been sitting in the dark, approving their salaries, denying their promotions, and systematically dismantling every piece of power they thought they had. I've been their silent boss, their ghost in the machine. And tonight, at the glittering anniversary gala where they planned to crown themselves as legends, I walked onto the stage. I'm going to tell you how a betrayed man spent 15 years building an invisible empire, and 12 years executing the perfect patient revenge. But before I begin, let me know in the comments, have you ever waited years for justice? To everyone in this community who believes in righting wrongs, thank you. Your stories give this old man strength. And if you're new here, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. You're not just watching a story, you're bearing witness to a reckoning that was 50 years in the making. Now, let me tell you how I secretly bought the company that bankrupted me. I need you to understand something before I go any further. The worst betrayal of my life didn't happen in a boardroom. It happened at my kitchen table over breakfast. It was March 17th, 1995. I was 55 years old. I'd built my manufacturing company, Horizon Industries, from a single garage workshop into a $40 million enterprise. 23 years of 16-hour days, 23 years of missed birthdays, delayed vacations, and cold dinners reheated at midnight. My wife, Mary, was reading the newspaper. Our daughter, Aurora, was visiting with her husband, Lemuel. He'd been my CFO for 3 years. Good-looking guy, confident, the kind of man who shakes your hand and looks you in the eye, the kind you trust. Dad, Aurora said, stirring her coffee without looking at me. There's a board meeting this morning, 9 o'clock. I frowned. I didn't call a board meeting. We know. That's when she finally looked up. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying, but her jaw was set. Lemuel, Jack, and Killian called it. They have the votes, Dad. The room started spinning. Jack, my college roommate's son. I'd mentored him from intern to VP of operations, taught him everything. Killian, a kid I'd pulled out of community college because I saw something in him. Hunger, intelligence, loyalty, made him VP of sales before he turned 30. And Lemuel, my son-in-law, the man I'd trusted with my company's finances, the man I'd trusted with my daughter. What votes? My voice came out strangled. Lemuel stood up, adjusted his tie. Even now, I can see the look on his face. Not cruel, not apologetic, just done with me. Dennis, the company needs new direction. You've built something incredible, but you're holding us back. We need aggressive expansion, modern systems. You're stuck in 1972. I looked at Aurora. You're part of this. She folded her napkin, placed it on the table with shaking hands. Daddy, please don't make this harder. Lemuel showed me the numbers, the projections. If we don't act now, I couldn't breathe. Aurora, this is my company. Not anymore. Lemuel's voice was so calm it felt like a knife. We have 51% board control as of yesterday. Jonathan transferred his shares to us last week. Jonathan, my oldest friend, the man who'd co-signed my first business loan. Mary reached for my hand under the table. She squeezed it once, hard. A warning. Stay calm. But I couldn't. You can't do this. It's already done, Lemuel said. The meeting is a formality. We'll offer you a consultant position, a severance package. You'll be taken care of. Taken care of. Like I was a problem to be managed. I looked at Aurora one more time. Is this really what you want? She didn't answer. But she didn't leave with me either. The board meeting lasted 11 minutes. 11 minutes to erase 23 years. Jack wouldn't make eye contact. He sat at the far end of the table looking at his legal pad. Killian actually had the decency to look uncomfortable. He kept opening his mouth like he wanted to say something, but Lemuel would glance at him and he'd close it again. They offered me 45 days severance. 45 days for 2 decades of my life. We'll need your keys, your passwords, and your access cards by end of business today, Jack finally said, still not looking at me. His voice cracked on the word today. I handed over everything in silence. I didn't cry, didn't beg, didn't rage. I just stood up, buttoned my jacket, and walked out of my own building for the last time as its owner. 15 minutes later, I was in my car with a cardboard box on the passenger seat. Inside, a coffee mug Mary gave me, a photo of Aurora's high school graduation, and the bronze plaque from my first successful contract. I sat there in the parking lot for 2 hours, watching people walk in and out of the building. My building. People I'd hired. People whose kids I knew by name. And that's when I made my decision. Not revenge. Not yet. First, I had to survive. But I swear to you, sitting in that car with tears I refused to let fall, I knew I'd be back. I just didn't know it would take 15 years. The first year after they took everything was the year I learned what it means to be erased. They didn't just take my company. They took my identity. Within 6 months, they'd rebranded. Horizon Industries became Horizon Global Solutions. My name disappeared from the website, from the lobby wall, from the company history page. They hired a PR firm that spun a story about new visionary leadership taking the company into the 21st century. I wasn't even a footnote. I was vapor. Mary tried to help. God, she tried. She'd bring me coffee in the morning, ask what I was planning to do that day. But what was I supposed to say? That I spent 8 hours sitting in my home office, staring at the wall, wondering how I'd let this happen? Dennis, she said one night about 4 months in, you have to stop checking their stock price every morning. You're killing yourself. She was right, but I couldn't stop. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., boot up my computer, and watch. Up 2 points, down 3. Lateral movement. Each fluctuation felt personal, like they were sending me messages. See? We don't need you. We're fine without you. But here's the thing about hitting bottom. You either stay there, or you start climbing in the dark. My granddaughter Gwen saved me. She was only 7 years old in 1995, but that kid was sharp as a tack. Aurora had forbidden her from seeing me. Lemuel's rule, no doubt, but Gwen didn't care. She'd show up at our house on her bike after school, sneak through the back gate. "Grandpa," she said one afternoon, sitting cross-legged on my office floor, "why are you sad all the time now?" I didn't know how to answer that. How do you explain adult betrayal to a 7-year-old? She tilted her head. My teacher says when someone takes your toy, you can't just cry about it. You have to be smarter next time. Smarter next time. That night I made a list. Not of what I'd lost. That list would have broken me. A list of what I still had. 1. $340,000 in personal savings they couldn't touch. 2. 30 years of industry contacts who still returned my calls. 3. A brain that built one empire. Could it build another? I started consulting. Quietly. Small manufacturing firms that needed expertise but couldn't afford big agencies. I charged almost nothing at first. I just needed to move, to think, to matter again. By 1997, I had 8 clients. By 1999, I had 16. By 2000, I'd made my first real money, $1.2 million from helping a medical device startup streamline their production line. I invested every dollar. Tech stocks before they exploded. Real estate in emerging markets. International holdings through LLCs and shell corporations. Nothing flashy. Nothing traceable. I became a ghost in the financial world. Invisible, but everywhere. And then I started watching them. Not obsessively, strategically. I subscribed to industry newsletters, attended conferences where I knew they'd present. I never approached them. I just listened, watched, learned. Here's what I discovered. They were struggling. Lemuel was brilliant with numbers but terrible with people. Employee turnover was up 40%. Jack was coasting, delegating everything, spending more time on golf courses than factory floors, and Killian, poor Killian, was working himself to death trying to hold it all together. By 2003, they'd lost their two biggest contracts. By 2005, they were $3 million in debt. By 2008, the recession nearly killed them. That's when I made my first move. I created Abigail Holdings, named after my mother's maiden name, a perfectly legitimate investment firm, registered in Delaware, with a board of lawyers who answered only to me. Through Abigail Holdings, I started buying their debt. Quietly, from creditors who were desperate to offload risk. I offered pennies on the dollar, and they took it. By 2009, I owned $2.8 million of Horizon Global Solutions debt. They had no idea the man signing the buyout agreements was the same man they'd thrown away. But I wasn't ready to strike yet. I needed control. Total control. So I waited for the opportunity that I knew would come. Patience is the sharpest weapon you can wield, sharper than anger, sharper than pride. And in 2010, when they were on their knees, bleeding and desperate, that's when I bought them. Chapter 3. The Acquisition. 750 words. Let me tell you about the day I became the owner of the company that destroyed me. It was January 12th, 2010. I was 70 years old. The Great Recession had crushed businesses across America, and Horizon Global Solutions was hemorrhaging money. Their stock had dropped 67% in 18 months. Their credit lines were frozen. Their investors were running. They were dying. And I was the only buyer at the funeral. I sat in my study that morning with my lawyer, a sharp woman named Abigail Chen. Yes, I named the holding company after her too, a little insurance policy of confusion. She slid the acquisition documents across my desk. "Mr. Dennis," she said, "once you sign this, there's no going back. You'll own 78% of Horizon Global Solutions. They'll never know it's you. The shell corporations are airtight, but you'll control everything. Every decision, every hire, every budget." My hand hovered over the pen. 15 years. 15 years of building, investing, waiting, all leading to this moment. "Before I sign," I said, "I need you to understand something. This isn't about money. I don't need money. This is about looking my daughter in the eye someday and asking her if it was worth it. This is about those 3 men waking up every morning for the next decade, slowly realizing their careers are in someone else's hands, and never knowing those hands belong to the man they betrayed." Abigail leaned back. "That's not justice, Mr. Dennis. That's revenge." "Maybe," I said, "but I've earned it." I signed. 3 weeks later, Horizon Global Solutions announced a strategic acquisition by Abigail Holdings and Associates. The press release was dry, corporate, forgettable. An anonymous investment firm saving a struggling American manufacturer. Feel-good story. Quick news cycle. Lemuel, Jack, and Killian never met me. They never asked to. Why would they? They were desperate, humiliated, grateful someone was willing to buy their sinking ship. The lawyers told them the new ownership wanted minimal disruption and would retain current management. What they didn't know is that every email they sent went through servers I controlled. Every financial decision crossed my desk for approval. Every personnel file landed in front of me. I installed a puppet CEO, a man named Richard Voss, a retired executive I'd worked with in the 90s. Good man, professional. He knew the truth, but he was loyal and well compensated for his discretion. "Your job," I told Richard, "is to be the face. Make them think decisions come from you, from the board, from market forces. But every move, every single move, comes from me." For the first 6 months, I changed nothing. I watched, studied, learned their patterns. Lemuel still strutted around like he owned the place, even though the CFO title was now a formality. He drove a Tesla, lived in a house he couldn't afford, and had started an affair with someone in accounting. I knew because expense reports don't lie. Jack had gotten lazy. He delegated everything to junior managers and spent afternoons at a bar 3 blocks from the office. I knew because I'd hired someone to tail him. Not for blackmail, just for information. Knowledge is control. And Killian. Killian was different. He worked 70-hour weeks trying to save the company he thought he'd helped build. He took pay cuts to avoid layoffs. He ate lunch at his desk. He looked exhausted. One night, I found myself reading an old memo from 1995 that I'd never seen before. It had been buried in archived files, scanned during the acquisition due diligence. It was from Killian to the board. Dated March 10th, 1995, 1 week before they took my company. I'm formally objecting to the proposed removal of Dennis as CEO. This company exists because of his vision. Removing him without cause is not just unethical. It will destroy morale and our reputation. I will not participate in this action. The memo was marked, Overruled, Unanimous Board Decision. Killian abstaining. I read it 3 times. Killian had tried to stop them. He'd voted against it, and they'd done it anyway. I sat there in my dark office, this memo glowing on my screen, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 15 years. Doubt. What the hell was I doing? I closed my laptop and walked away. But that memo stayed with me. It stayed with me for the next 12 years, because revenge is easy when everyone's a villain. But what do you do when you realize one of them tried to save you and failed? For 12 years, I was a ghost haunting my own company. Let me walk you through what that looked like. 2010. I denied Lemuel's request for a $40,000 raise. Richard delivered the news, blamed budget constraints from ownership. Lemuel threw a stapler across his office. I watched the security footage that night and smiled. 2011. Jack applied for VP of International Operations, a role that would have doubled his salary and given him an excuse to travel to Paris quarterly. I rejected it. He got a lateral transfer to a regional office in Ohio instead. He quit drinking for 6 months, then started again. 2012. I transferred Lemuel's closest ally, the head of finance, to a satellite office in Nevada. Suddenly, Lemuel had no one watching his back, no one protecting him from audits. 2013. I approved Killian's promotion to COO. Yes, Killian. The man who'd tried to save me. I told myself I was rewarding integrity, but the truth, I was testing him, watching to see if power would corrupt him the way it corrupted the others. It didn't. He worked harder. 2014. I restructured the bonus program. Lemuel's bonuses mysteriously shrank while junior employees saw increases. He complained to Richard. Richard shrugged and said, "New ownership policies. Performance-based metrics." I was meticulous, surgical, never obvious enough to trigger suspicion, but constant enough to create pressure. Death by 1,000 cuts. And I won't lie to you. For the first 5 years it felt good. It felt like justice. Every denied request, every blocked promotion, every subtle humiliation, it was vindication. But somewhere around 2015, things started to shift. Mary got sick, early-stage dementia. Some days she'd forget where she'd put her glasses. Other days she'd forget we had a daughter. One morning, she looked at me across the breakfast table, the same table where Aurora had betrayed me 20 years earlier, and she said, "Dennis, are you happy?" "What do you mean?" "You've been working on something for years. I see you on that computer late at night. You won't tell me what it is, but I know you. You're plotting something." Her eyes were clear that morning, sharp. "Are you happy?" I didn't answer. She reached across and took my hand. "I'm forgetting things, Dennis. Important things. And I'm scared that I'm going to forget you before you remember who you used to be." That broke something in me. I started paying attention differently, not just to the revenge, but to what it was costing me. I'd spent 15 years building wealth and 12 years executing control. 27 years total. I was 75 years old. Mary was slipping away. Aurora hadn't spoken to me in 2 decades. Gwen, brilliant, beautiful Gwen, was now 32 and running her own consulting firm. She visited me every Sunday, the only family I had left. One Sunday in 2017, she asked me directly, "Grandpa, what are you doing with Horizon?" I froze. "What do you know about Horizon?" "I'm not stupid. I've been watching the company since I was old enough to Google. Every major decision in the last 7 years has the same fingerprint. Strategic, patient, targeting specific people. That's not a normal investment firm. That's personal. Gwen, are you behind it?" Her voice wasn't accusatory, just curious. "Are you the one who's been dismantling them?" I couldn't lie to her. "Yes." She nodded slowly. Then she asked the question that haunted me. "Has it made you feel better?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to tell her that every denied promotion, every blocked opportunity, every frustration they felt, it filled the hole they'd carved out of me. But sitting there, looking at my granddaughter's face, Aurora's daughter, I realized the truth. "No," I whispered, "it hasn't." That night, I made a decision. The 50th anniversary of Horizon was coming in 2022, 5 years away. That would be the endgame. Not more silent torture, a reckoning. I was going to reveal myself, step out of the shadows, make them understand what they'd done, and what I'd become because of it. But I didn't want to destroy them anymore. I wanted something harder. I wanted them to face the truth. And maybe, just maybe, I wanted to face it too. If you're still with me, subscribe now. The gala reveal is next, and you won't believe what happened. Comment truth if you think facing them is the right move. September 14th, 2022. The night everything came full circle. The grand ballroom of the Westbridge Hotel was decorated like a palace. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, a banner reading Horizon Global Solutions, 50 Years of Innovation. My company's anniversary. Except my name appeared nowhere. I arrived at 7:15 p.m., 15 minutes after doors opened. I'd bought a ticket under a false name, a guest of a board member who owed me a favor and didn't ask questions. I wore a simple black suit, nothing flashy. I looked like any other old man at a corporate event. No one recognized me. Why would they? I'd been gone 27 years. I was a ghost from another era. I found a seat in the back and watched them arrive. Jack came first, alone. He'd aged badly. Red-faced, overweight, bitter lines around his mouth. He went straight to the bar. Old habits. He downed 2 whiskeys before the speeches even started. Killian arrived with his wife and 2 teenage kids. He looked distinguished now, gray at the temples, wearing his KOO title with quiet dignity. His son pointed at something on the stage and Killian smiled, genuinely smiled. For a moment, I almost felt guilty for what was coming. Then Lemuel walked in. Still handsome, still confident. Expensive suit, expensive watch. He worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, laughing too loud. But I noticed something. He was alone, too. No Aurora. And then I saw her. Aurora entered 20 minutes later by herself. She wore a navy dress, simple and elegant, but she looked small, fragile. Her hair was shorter, graying. She found a table near the middle and sat down, hands folded in her lap, not talking to anyone. My daughter, 27 years older, a stranger. The speeches began at 8 p.m. Richard Voss, my puppet CEO, talked about resilience and innovation. Jack gave a rambling toast about the good old days that made people uncomfortable. Then Lemuel took the stage. 50 years ago, he said, voice booming, this company was founded on a simple principle: hard work and vision. And tonight we celebrate not just where we've been, but where we're going. Under new ownership, we've stabilized, grown, and positioned ourselves for the next 50 years. He was taking credit. All of it. The survival, the turnaround, the future, his doing. I felt my heart pounding. So let's raise a glass, Lemuel continued, to Horizon Global Solutions and to the leadership that saved it. Applause, glasses clinking. That's when the lights dimmed. The screen behind Lemuel flickered to life. He turned, confused. The audience went quiet. And then my face appeared. Live feed, 75 feet tall. Good evening, I said. My voice filled the ballroom through speakers I'd had installed that afternoon. My name is Dennis. Some of you may remember me. Lemuel went pale. In 1972, I founded this company in my garage with $800 and a dream. For 23 years, I built it into something I was proud of. And in 1995, 3 men I trusted, men I mentored, men I loved, took it from me. Jack dropped his glass. It shattered on the marble floor. Tonight, I want to introduce myself properly. I paused, let it sink in. I am the principal owner of Abigail Holdings and Associates. I bought this company in 2010. For 12 years, every decision, every promotion, every denied raise, that was me. The room erupted. People turning to each other, confused, shocked. Aurora's hand was over her mouth. Lemuel, Jack, Killian, you've been working for me. The man you destroyed has been signing your paychecks, watching your every move, and waiting for this moment. I stood up from my table in the back. People turned to look at me. I walked slowly down the center aisle. I could destroy you tonight. I have evidence of embezzlement, Lemuel. I have records of your affairs, your gambling debts, your fraud. Jack, I have expense reports that would end your career. I could do a lot of things. I reached the stage, climbed the steps, stood 3 feet from Lemuel. He was shaking. But I'm tired, I said, my voice breaking for the first time. I spent 27 years of my life on this. And here's what I learned. Revenge doesn't heal you. It just postpones the pain. I turned to the audience, found Aurora's face in the crowd. So, here's what happens next. Lemuel, I said, turning back to him, you're fired. You have 1 hour to leave this building. The evidence of your embezzlement has been forwarded to federal authorities. You'll face consequences, not from me, but from the law. Security guards, my security guards, stepped forward. Lemuel looked around for help. No one moved. He walked off the stage without a word. Jack, I continued, you're done too. You broke no laws, but you're a coward. You get 6 months severance, more than you gave me. Use it to figure out who you want to be. Jack was crying. He nodded once and left through the side exit. Then I looked at Killian. Killian, I know what you did in 1995. I found your memo. You tried to stop them. You voted against my removal. My voice softened. I'm offering you CEO. Real CEO. No more puppet. This company needs someone who understands loyalty, integrity, and hard work. The job is yours if you want it. Killian stood, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, Dennis. I should have fought harder. I should have... You were 30 years old and scared, I said. I forgive you. The question is, can you forgive yourself? He nodded, unable to speak. Then I turned to face my daughter. Aurora. My voice broke completely. I'm not your enemy. I never was. But you chose a man who hurt you, and you let him turn you against your father. I can't fix that. Only you can. She stood up, mascara running down her face. Daddy, I know, I whispered. I know. The room was completely silent. I spent 27 years consumed by what was taken from me, I said to everyone. I built an empire in secret. I executed perfect revenge. And you know what? It was empty. The only thing that gave me life was my wife Mary, who's now forgetting my name, my granddaughter Gwen, who forced me to see the truth, and the possibility, just the possibility, that maybe my daughter and I can find our way back to each other. I looked at the banner. 50 years. This company isn't my legacy, I said. People are. Family is. The time we have left is the legacy. So I'm stepping down. Killian, it's yours. Build something worth building. Treat people with dignity. Don't become what I became. I walked off the stage through the silent crowd toward the exit. Aurora caught up with me in the lobby. She grabbed my arm. Dad, please, can we talk? I looked at her. My daughter, still here. Yes, I said. Yes, we can talk. We sat on a bench outside, under the stars, and for the first time in 27 years, I chose forgiveness over revenge. I chose the future over the past. And you know what? It felt like freedom. That's my story. If it moved you, if it changed how you see revenge or forgiveness, subscribe. Share this. And remember, the best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming someone they can never hurt again. Thank you for bearing witness. Peace. Drop a comment with one word that describes how this story made you feel. And hit that subscribe button. You're part of something bigger now.